In 1912, four Balkan states did something extraordinary. They formed an alliance, challenged the Ottoman Empire, and within weeks began tearing apart its remaining position in Europe. But tensions had existed for decades. So why did everything explode in 1912? The answer begins with a map drawn 34 years earlier. In 1877, the Russian Empire launched a war that shattered Ottoman control across the Balkans. The resulting Treaty of San Stefano, signed on March 3, 1878, proposed a massive autonomous Bulgarian state stretching all the way to the Aegean Sea and swallowing most of Macedonia. This rapid expansion of Russian influence panicked the other European great powers. To prevent a total collapse of the regional balance of power, they gathered in Germany for the Congress of Berlin, which ran from June 13 to July 13, 1878. The resulting Treaty of Berlin, signed on July 13, dismantled the San Stefano map. While it granted formal international independence to Serbia, Montenegro, and Romania, it carved the proposed Bulgarian state into smaller pieces, leaving Bulgaria as a minor autonomous principality under formal Ottoman suzerainty. Most importantly, the treaty returned Macedonia and Thrace to direct Ottoman administration. This map was built for short-term diplomatic stabilization between great powers, not local stability. The new borders ignored local linguistic, religious, and ethnic realities, leaving millions of people under direct Ottoman rule, while neighboring independent states coveted those same territories. By September 1878, American diplomat Horace Maynard observed that the settlement could hardly be deemed successful as a measure re-establishing peace in the East. Rather than solving the question of who would eventually inherit these European territories, Berlin merely postponed the conflict. The primary battleground of these unresolved borders lay in Ottoman Macedonia, administratively divided into the Salonika, Monastir, and Kosovo regions. Far from a uniform national homeland, this territory was a complex mosaic of Slavic-speaking Christians, Greeks, Turks, Albanians, Vlachs, and Jews. Conflicting demographic statistics arose because authorities classified populations differently, relying alternatively on language, religion, or political loyalty. To secure future territorial claims, neighboring states waged a quiet war of influence on the ground. The Bulgarian Exarchate, established in 1870, funded churches and schools to foster Bulgarian identity among the Slavic peasantry. In response, the Greek Patriarchate utilized its own long-standing ecclesiastical and educational networks, while Serbian cultural societies built schools in northern districts. By the late 19th century, this institutional rivalry turned violent. The Internal Macedonian Revolutionary Organization, or IMRO, emerged in 1893 to fight for autonomy, culminating in the 1903 Ilinden Uprising. Though Ottoman forces crushed the revolt, the crisis exposed the weakness of imperial rule, prompting Greek, Bulgarian, and Serbian armed detachments to flood the region. These paramilitaries turned schools and villages into combat zones. The supreme prize was Thessaloniki, a vital deep-water port and rail hub linking the Balkan interior to the Aegean. Long before the formal alliance of 2012, these future partners operated as fierce rivals, each determined to inherit Macedonia's strategic gateways. Belgrade, Sofia, Athens, and Cetinje operated as rival states with distinct, incompatible territorial blueprints. In Serbia, King Peter I and Prime Minister Nikola Pasic sought routes to the Adriatic Sea through northern Albania, alongside claims to Kosovo and northern Macedonia. Bulgaria, led by Tsar Ferdinand I and Prime Minister Ivan Geshov, focused its military planning on securing the Thracian plain and the bulk of Macedonia. To the south, Greek Prime Minister Eleftherios Venizelos pursued Epirus, Crete, the Aegean Islands, and the port of Thessaloniki. Meanwhile, King Nikola I of Montenegro sought to expand his borders into northern Albanian lands, looking to secure positions along the Adriatic coast. This fragile balance of competing ambitions changed in July 1908, when the Young Turk Revolution restored the Ottoman constitution. While the uprising initially raised hopes for equal citizenship across the empire, the new ruling Committee of Union and Progress quickly implemented aggressive centralization and modernization policies. By imposing uniform tax and conscription laws, the regime threatened the traditional privileges of the local Christian populations. For the Balkan capitals, this created an immediate strategic dilemma. A stronger modernized Ottoman administration threatened to cement imperial control over Macedonia, permanently closing the window for future expansion. Perceived Ottoman weakness invited military action, but the prospect of Ottoman recovery meant that waiting was increasingly dangerous. On October 6, 1908, Austria-Hungary formally annexed Bosnia-Herzegovina, a territory it had occupied and administered since the Congress of Berlin. This unilateral move outraged Belgrade. Serbian leaders viewed the province as historically linked to their own national project, but Serbia lacked the military strength to challenge Vienna alone. Its traditional protector, Russia, was still recovering from its military defeat in the Russo-Japanese War and the internal turmoil of the 1905 revolution. Unwilling to risk a major European conflict, St. Petersburg pressured Belgrade to back down and accept the annexation. This diplomatic defeat forced a strategic shift in Belgrade. With its westward ambitions blocked by a permanent Habsburg barrier, Serbia redirected its focus southward. Accessing the Adriatic Sea and expanding its territory now depended entirely on securing paths through Ottoman-controlled Kosovo, Macedonia, and northern Albania. While the crisis intensified the rivalry between Austria-Hungary and Russia, it also highlighted the agency of the Balkan states. Instead of serving as passive proxies, these governments used this great power friction to advance their own sovereign agendas, waiting for a moment when imperial distractions would allow them to act on their own terms. In early 1912, Russia stepped in to broker a partnership between Serbia and Bulgaria, hoping to block Austro-Hungarian expansion. In March of that year, Belgrade and Sofia signed a secret alliance. While promising mutual defense, the treaty's secret annexes mapped out a future partition of Macedonia, designating the Russian Tsar as the ultimate arbitrator. 2 months later, Bulgaria signed a parallel military pact with Greece, while Montenegro agreed to join the alignment soon after. Together, these 4 states formed the Balkan League. Rather than a single state or a unified military command, the League was a fragile web of separate bilateral treaties. It succeeded in solving a major tactical problem. For the first time, these states could plan coordinated attacks that would force the Ottoman army to fight on multiple fronts simultaneously. Yet this military coordination masked severe political friction. Serbia and Bulgaria remained locked in disputes over northern Macedonia, while Greek and Bulgarian territorial claims directly overlapped around the prize of Thessaloniki. The Allies shared a common opponent in the Ottoman Empire, but they held entirely incompatible visions for the post-war map. They had agreed on how to launch the war, but not on how to divide the spoils. To see how this fragile coalition actually launched its attack and defeated the Ottoman Empire, subscribe to our channel for the next chapter of this story. In September 1911, an event outside the Balkans broke the status quo. Italy launched a sudden military campaign to seize Ottoman-controlled Libya. The resulting war dragged into 1912, forcing the Ottoman government to divert its limited resources, finances, and troops to North Africa. Italian naval actions in the Aegean Sea further disrupted Ottoman communications and shipping lanes. Closer to the Balkan borders, internal instability deepened. Between 1910 and 1912, a series of major Albanian revolts shook the region, challenging Ottoman administrative control in Kosovo and northern Albania. From the capitals of Belgrade, Sofia, Athens, and Cetinje, the empire appeared increasingly fragile. Although the Ottoman state was not actually collapsing, this domestic instability reshaped the calculations in the Balkan capitals. This external pressure created the temporary opening that explains the timing of 1912. While Balkan national ambitions had developed over decades, Italy's campaign and the domestic revolts offered a sudden, actionable window. Waiting carried immense risks. If the Ottoman government settled its conflict with Italy or contained the Albanian unrest, its military forces would return to reinforce the Macedonian garrisons. For the Balkan League, the window was fleeting. They had to strike before the empire recovered. In September 1912, decades of unresolved territorial disputes and strategic rivalries converged. Macedonia remained contested, Serbia faced a Habsburg barrier to the west, and the Ottoman Empire was distracted. To the Balkan League, waiting risked Ottoman military recovery. On September 24th, the Ottoman Empire ordered military maneuvers in Thrace, triggering immediate, coordinated mobilizations by Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro. While mobilization is not a formal declaration of war, it forces opponents to respond or risk instant defeat. The European great powers scrambled to contain the crisis. Austria-Hungary warned against expansion, while Russia, Britain, and France urged restraint. But diplomatic pressure failed to control governments pursuing their own sovereign plans. On October 8th, Montenegro declared war on the Ottoman Empire. Serbia followed on October 17th, with Bulgaria and Greece joining the hostilities within days. The First Balkan War was underway. Subscribe to our channel to follow how the Balkan League defeated the Ottoman Empire in the next chapter of our series. The explosion of 1912 was not an inevitable historical script, but a calculated choice by governments weighing risk against a sudden, fleeting opportunity. Long-term structural pressures, including unresolved borders from the 1878 Congress of Berlin, intense nationalist competition, and steady Ottoman decline, collided with immediate imperial distractions in North Africa and domestic Albanian revolts. Balkan leaders feared that if they delayed, a modernized Ottoman state might recover and permanently secure its territories. Yet the newly formed Balkan League harbored a fatal flaw. Serbia, Bulgaria, and Greece shared a common opponent, but they possessed entirely incompatible plans for post-war Macedonia and the coveted port of Thessaloniki. While they coordinated a massive offensive, they had no durable agreement on how to divide the spoils of victory. The unexpectedly rapid collapse of Ottoman defenses would soon turn these allies into bitter rivals, directly triggering another war in 1913. Subscribe to follow how the Balkan League defeated the Ottoman Empire. Today, the borders carved out in 1912 still define the geopolitical fault lines of southeastern Europe. The decisions made in that fleeting window did more than dismantle an empire. They proved how quickly local opportunism can ignite global catastrophe, a reality that continues to shape our fragile world.